So we've isolated the geometry pass by taking and unchecking hypervoxels and getting rid of anything that wasn't the ship. We isolate the star pass by getting rid of everything else and just leaving the stars. And we isolate the voxels by taking all of the objects, turning them into matte objects, and turning off our shadow options, and adding flare to alpha so that we get the proper alpha channel and the proper color for our effects. Once we do that, we render each of these passes individually, and within the space of time we have here, it's absolutely impossible to do that. And it's going to take a while, even though you have these objects separated and optimized, these renders. But I've gone ahead and rendered them already. So we'll go ahead and we'll go into After Effects, and we'll look at what they look like individually. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to import my files. So I have my effects with objects. I'm going to set my alpha to pre-multiplied. Have my geometry, also pre-multiplied. And my stars, because it was just a background, I just rendered those as a JPEG without an alpha channel. The others are rendered as targas. You can I'll make the opacity about 35%. So what that ends up doing is it just gives a little more solidity and a little more oomph to your voxel explosion. Sort of blends things together a little bit, makes them look a little less chunky. It's a really nice little effect for fire. And there are other things that you could do, adjusting the levels and color balance. And one of the things that I like to add a lot to my explosions, I'm going to add this into my base layer. I have to find it. Ah, there it is. I like to add light rays. And in this case, you can. There's also those of you who do a lot of compositing. You use a plugin called Shine that does the same thing. Basically, what it does is it takes the light values of your element and it adds God rays to it. And I'm just basically going to track this in to my explosion. And yeah, it may be a little over the top. But we're blowing up spaceships. So you can now see that you can do a whole bunch of different things to your explosions. You can colorize things if you want. If you want to do an explosion that's more like a plasma, you can actually take this and change the coloring of it. Which for some reason won't show up. But let's see what happens when we render this. And I think I've got my camera settings. I'll just double check my camera settings and make sure they render quickly. Okay, that should render quick. And somebody play the Jeopardy music while we wait. As it renders up, you can see the geometry pass is showing up there, because that's all that's rendering right now. It's just the geometry pass. And what it'll do is it'll composite the stars in the background, and ideally should put the explosion in the foreground with the fader alpha in there to hold out what we want held out and keep in what we want kept in. We have that live explosion element. We have ragged geometry. We have fire and smoke. And it's all blended together with a greater sense of thickness and depth. And that's pretty much it. That's all the time we have for the intermediate class, and I hope that the tutorial's been helpful. If there are any questions, I got time, so